The rain fell in heavy sheets that night, the kind that made the world look like it was crying. Neon lights flickered weakly outside the old biker bar on the edge of town, their reflections trembling in the puddles on the cracked asphalt. Inside, the low hum of rock music mixed with laughter, clinking glasses, and the deep growl of men who looked like they'd seen too much of life. The smell of gasoline, leather, and cheap whiskey hung thick in the air. But when the door creaked open and a young pregnant woman stumbled inside, soaking wet, shivering, and clutching her swollen belly, everything went still. Every head turned. Every voice died mid-sentence. Even the jukebox seemed to pause. She looked terrified. Her hair was plastered to her face, her shoes squelched against the wooden floor, and her eyes, those trembling, desperate eyes, swept the room like a cornered animal searching for mercy. For a moment nobody moved. Then the leader of the biker gang, a broad-shouldered man with tattoos crawling up his neck and a scar that ran from his jaw to his ear, slowly stood up. His name was Ryder, and people said he didn't have a heart. But that night fate was about to prove them all wrong. Backhand index pointing right before we continue. If you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. This story will remind you that sometimes the coldest hearts hide the deepest pain. She could barely speak when she reached the bar counter. Her voice trembled as she said she needed help, that someone was after her. She walked 5 miles through the storm after her car broke down on the highway. She was 8 months pregnant and alone. Her name was Emily, and she had nowhere left to go. Ryder's men exchanged glances, some amused, others suspicious. Women like her didn't just wander into places like this, not unless they were desperate, and desperate she was. Emily's story spilled out between sobs and trembling breaths. Her husband had left her months ago after finding out about the baby. She'd been staying with a friend, trying to rebuild her life, but that friend's boyfriend, a man with a violent temper, had started following her. He'd shown up at her workplace, banged on her door at night, and threatened to take what was his. That evening, he chased her down the road until her old car gave up. She'd seen the bar lights through the rain and prayed someone inside would listen. Ryder leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowed. He'd heard plenty of sob stories in his life, but something about this woman's trembling voice, the way she clutched her belly as if protecting the last piece of hope she had left, stirred something in him he hadn't felt in years. Maybe it was because once, long ago, someone had walked away from him when he needed them most. Or maybe, deep down, he saw his younger sister in her face, the one he'd lost when the streets took over his life. He tossed his cigarette into an ashtray, stood up, and without a word took off his leather jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. The room went quiet again. His men knew what that meant. Ryder didn't do soft. He didn't do help. But that night he did. Emily spent the next few hours in the small back room of the bar, wrapped in blankets as the rain thundered outside. The gang's old bartender, a kind woman named Martha, brewed her tea and sat beside her. Ryder stepped out into the rain, cigarette between his teeth, staring into the darkness. He couldn't explain it, but something in his gut told him that whoever was after her wasn't far behind. He told his men to lock the doors and keep watch. Around midnight, just as the storm began to ease, headlights flashed across the lot. A car screeched to a stop outside. The sound of a car door slamming echoed through the night. A man's voice roared over the wind. "Emily, come out." The gang stirred and Ryder's jaw tightened. Through the rain-streaked window, he saw a man stumbling toward the entrance, tall, broad, wild-eyed, and drunk. Emily heard the voice and froze. Her hands flew to her belly and her whole body trembled. "He found me," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. Ryder didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. He walked toward the front door, his boots heavy on the floorboards, and stepped outside into the cold night. The two men faced each other under the flickering neon sign, the rain still dripping from the roof above them. The stranger sneered, "You got something that belongs to me." Ryder didn't speak. He just stared at the man with the kind of calm that comes before a storm. Behind him, his gang began to gather. The drunk man took a step forward, reaching inside his jacket, and in that instant everything exploded. Ryder's fist shot out, landing square on his jaw. The man hit the mud hard. When he tried to get up, he found himself surrounded by leather, steel, and anger. But Ryder didn't let his men touch him. "He's not worth it," he growled. "Call the cops." The man spat blood, cursed, and stumbled back to his car, swearing he'd be back. But he didn't return. Not that night, not ever. Inside, Emily was sobbing in relief. When Ryder came back in, drenched and silent, she tried to thank him, but he just shook his head and told her to rest. She didn't know it, but he had already called a friend, a retired cop who owed him a favor, to make sure she'd be safe from now on. That night, as she slept in the warmth of the biker bar, surrounded by people she'd once feared, Ryder sat alone at the counter. He stared at an old photo he kept hidden behind the bar, a girl with bright eyes and a kind smile. His sister, Leela. She died years ago after running from an abusive relationship he never knew she was in. Maybe that was why Emily's face haunted him. He couldn't save Leela back then, but tonight he had saved someone. Days passed. Emily stayed in the small apartment above the bar. The gang, rough as they were, treated her like family. They fixed her car, bought her groceries, and even built a crib in the corner of her room. For the first time in months, she slept without fear. Ryder never said much to her, but he always made sure she had what she needed. He'd leave meals at her door, fix things around her room, and then disappear before she could thank him. He didn't want gratitude. He just wanted peace. Then one morning, Emily woke up in pain. It was early, barely dawn, and her water had broken. Panic set in. She called out, and within seconds the entire bar was alive. Ryder carried her to his bike, of all things, because the roads were still flooded and the ambulance would take too long. He wrapped her in his jacket again, told her to hold on, and rode through the misty streets like a man possessed. Every bump in the road made her cry out, but he didn't stop. He rode until the hospital lights came into view. Hours later, when the baby's first cry echoed through the room, Ryder stood outside, soaked in sweat and rain, his heart pounding. Emily named her son Luke after the kind stranger who had saved her life when no one else would. When she told him, Ryder looked away, blinking hard. He hadn't cried in years, not since Leela, but that day he did. Weeks passed and Emily recovered. She decided to start over in another town with help from the women's shelter Ryder's old friend had arranged. Before she left, she came to the bar one last time, holding her baby in her arms. The bikers all gathered around, cooing and joking like proud uncles. She looked at Ryder and whispered, "You didn't just save me. You gave my son a chance at life." Ryder didn't say anything. He just reached out, touched the baby's tiny hand, and nodded. When she drove away that day, the gang stood in silence, watching the car disappear down the road. And for the first time in a long time, Ryder felt something he thought he'd lost forever: hope. Months later, a letter arrived at the bar. It was from Emily. She wrote that she'd found a small apartment, a job, and a new beginning. Inside the envelope was a photo, Emily holding baby Luke, both smiling under the sunlight. On the back, she'd written, "For the man who showed me that angels sometimes wear leather." Ryder kept that photo pinned behind the bar next to Leela's, and every time someone new walked in lost, scared, or broken, he'd glance at it and remember that night. Because sometimes, saving one person doesn't just change their life, it saves yours too. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's spread the message that kindness can come from the most unexpected places, and that it costs nothing to help someone who needs it. Speech balloon. Before you go, comment below. Do you believe people can change if they're given a second chance? And remember, real strength isn't in the fists we raise, but in the hearts we open.